everybody, welcome to The Grow Show. I'm your host, Marijuana Man. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a long time, but we're back again. And today, I'd like to talk about legalizing marijuana. Hey, there's something new for us, eh? But, boy, have you ever heard so much discussion about needing more discussion about discussing legalizing marijuana out there? Everybody's talking about it. Even the most unlikely prohibitionists, too, like Fox News, ex-drug czars, and politicians everywhere. Hell, I expect the Pope to come out and make a statement any day now. But at least they're talking about legalizing marijuana, and that's a good thing. Much, too, is being heard about the failure of prohibition, and that's a good thing, too. But politicians will be politicians, so they come at it from a purely monetary point of view. No need to be compassionate or realize your mistakes. Hell no, there's billions of dollars to be made. We gotta legalize marijuana. Now, for whatever reason anyone would like to legalize pot, I'm all for it. But after the political chest thumping and all the smoke is cleared, we're still going to need to be able to come up with a system to introduce cannabis into a legal marketplace. Now, this is pretty simple for virtually all other commodities, but marijuana has been under the strangling hands of prohibition for some 30 years now. And this has caused two very important things to happen that will have a huge influence over how this will work. First, there's been a tremendous amount of misinformation regarding the dangers of cannabis. And second, there's an enormous and very sophisticated black market currently controlling its production and distribution. These two factors alone make this a very complicated issue now. Because of all the misinformation about cannabis, the politicians now see this similar to alcohol and tobacco, a harmful and sinful substance, if you will. And this fully justifies in their minds the need that there should be an extra tax on it. Now, the bandwagon is overflowing with politicians drooling over the billions they see on the horizon. Not a bad setup. Pretend that marijuana is dangerous and then tax the hell out of it when it suits your pockets to legalize it. Now, as a substance, marijuana falls somewhere between coffee and fake beer in my estimation, but I don't really hear anybody suggesting that it be taxed accordingly. Now, after all these years of horrible prohibition we've been under, even the cannabis culture seems willing to accommodate just about anything and will pay any amount to buy our rights back. Now, here in BC, we already pay around 14% between GST and sales tax on everything. Now, that's 14% of a huge amount of sales that aren't currently being reaped. So for some reason, we need another tax on it? Now, alcohol has a tax about 25% on it. Now, from yearly sales in Canada of about $16 billion, that's roughly $4 billion received in taxes. But on the other hand, the destruction caused by alcohol is estimated to be about $10 billion. So in that case, Canadians are paying about $6 billion a year just to allow alcohol to be sold. Now, according to the Senate report on cannabis, their conclusion was that they could find almost no social cost as a result of its use, very few hospitalizations, and virtually no loss of productivity. So what then would justify this additional tax they're talking about? Given that legalization would additionally save the billions now being spent on enforcement, that's a pretty big amount of money going into the government coffers already. An additional sin tax would be just that, a moral tax based on lies and an idea that we still somehow shouldn't be smoking pot. I'm not so sure that an extra tax is even necessary. Now, naturally, we're going to be asking about what do you think the price of marijuana is going to be in a legal marketplace. Certainly, the current price is set solely by prohibition and depends on which street you live. Now, how that price is arrived upon is quite complicated since we've had 30 or more years to develop a very sophisticated underground market. Mostly it's determined by what that market will bear based on the perceived risk to provide and a whole lot of myth. Now Jacob Hunter, he did a fairly extensive calculation of the actual cost of producing indoor on a large scale, and he came up with a figure of about $150 a pound, which isn't very much, about $10 an ounce. Now, Health Canada, currently providing medicinal marijuana for users here in Canada, are selling their swag for $2,200 a pound, completely taking advantage of prohibition pricing and profiting horribly from sick people. It's terrible. Now, current talk about legalization in California, they're suggesting a $50 per ounce tax to be levied. Now, nowhere is it being suggested what the retail price would be, just that the government get their $50 on every ounce. And that's probably a pretty good way to go if we're going to have to endure some sort of tax, but it should be a whole lot less than that. So, time will tell. Now, when it comes to who should produce the pot, this is where the part about an enormous and very sophisticated black market comes back into play. Let's face it, there's a tremendous amount of pot being produced and sold out there already. Now, in a legal marketplace, if the price doesn't drop significantly and the quality stay the same or better, there's no reason why the black market would go away at all. So assuming that these things do happen, the product should be grown by anyone who wants a license and cares to get into the fray, as simple as that. Now, we've always thought that individuals here would get big warehouses and greenhouses to supply the local market. But it occurred to me that if marijuana was legal in the world, the countries that have the best and correct outdoor conditions will become the world's suppliers. Mexico, South and Central America, Jamaica, Hawaii, Afghanistan, all across Africa, the Middle East and throughout Southeast Asia. I'd love to smoke the strains that we've come to know that were grown in Ethiopia or the Congo, not to mention the indigenous strains that already exist in those areas that would come out. The people of those places could easily be shown how we would grow dry and cure for the new over-the-counter market. Now, what a boost that would be to their economies. Most of those countries are involved or poor and really, really poor. Unfortunately, a great deal of that poverty is already as a result of the drug war. Now, how should the marijuana be distributed? Now, once again, because of the prohibition lies, there's an overwhelming need to protect our kids from marijuana, which will certainly influence how it's going to be distributed to adults. Now, in reality, we would need nothing more than a licensing system for anyone who would care to open a shop and distribute it. Essentially, if you have marijuana being distributed in particular shops, they're a lot easier to control with the fact that children don't have access to it. Anybody who's got a license to distribute marijuana, that license would easily be at risk if you did distribute to a child, then penalties probably would be harsher than that. So I don't know, it would take an awful lot of work to open a cannabis shop. You're going to have a supply, whether that be attained locally or internationally and imported. You're going to have all the paperwork, all the sophistication to go through all that work. And so to stock all of the different strains that we want, to have it grown as good as the guy across the street, it's going to be tricky. And so it's going to take certain business people to be able to do that. I'm not certain that it's going to take something like Imperial Tobacco or Seagram's to come up with this. I don't really see the connection or why they would even desire to be involved in the game. There's plenty of people out there that are really good at it now and could easily expand into a larger scale. So I don't know, a lot of questions around how this can be done. It's certainly become complicated by prohibition. Thanks a lot. But I'm glad that there's a lot of talk out there, and everybody should join in those discussions wherever you see them. Post your comments on the videos. Contact the people who are involved even. They give out their web pages and email links in a lot of cases. Keep the talk alive. Now is the time. We've got a good chance to get marijuana legalized here in our society. Good on you folks in California for how hard at it you're going. My God, they even got Arnold talking about it now. So that'll be good, no? Anyway, I appreciate you tuning in. We're doing our best here to get marijuana legalized for you and for everybody. Thanks for your help and support all these years and continuing until today. We sure do appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Marijuana Man. Peace and pot. See you next time.